Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Webinar Wednesday. I'd love doing these sessions once a month because it's an opportunity for me to teach, for me to train, for me to share things that we're doing, and also just an opportunity to kind of touch base, to see how everyone's doing, what's going on, and also offer what I hope are topics that allow you to kind of reach your goals, to push forward, to find nuances and ways to make your marketing and to help you expand your reach. So I'm really excited about today's topic because we're going to be talking about the breakthrough. And when we talk about the breakthrough, we're really trying to find ways that you can do unique things with your marketing. We're trying to find ways that you can connect with your audience better and ultimately maybe even increase conversion rates. Also, what I want to do today is give you some practical ways that you can implement these things. I don't want to just do theory. I want to show you, like if we're promoting a webinar, I'm going to show you an example of how we promote our webinars, what are all the different channels and the ways we set things up so that you can use that same format. So if you have a pen, if you have a piece of paper, be ready to take notes, be ready to jot things down. If you have questions while we're live, please ask them. And even if you catch this as a replay, just post them in the comments wherever you're watching this, because it'll be a great opportunity for us to connect with you, great opportunity for us to, continue this conversation. Because I know once I start sharing slides and sharing information, that's just the beginning phase of things. We really want to make sure you take these things and implement them. All right. So when we talk about Webinar Wednesday, when we do these sessions, what I love to do is not just talk about what we're going to do, like the breakthrough, but I really want to make sure that we're talking about how to test and try things. I think one thing that can happen when we're thinking about expanding our marketing capability or thinking about doing more, we always think that I have to do what either everyone else is doing, or I have to do everything to make sure that if I don't kind of exhaust every option, it can feel sometimes like, well, did I do enough? And what I want you to think differently, especially at today's webinar, is that we should be a little bit more surgical, a little bit more targeted in what we do, in what we try, and what we test. And I also want to make sure that when you're thinking about ideas, you're not just kind of dreaming them or thinking about them or trying to just pull them out of thin air, that you're understanding what's happening in your world and your market and then applying it. You're understanding what your current marketing is and looking for tweaks and changes to make so that it's not just a pure brainstorming exercise to be able to break through. What it really is about is kind of understanding your world, understanding what's happening around you, understanding what's working for other people, and then making a decision to try something specific to get a specific result, because we don't have unlimited resources. We don't have, the ability to just do everything. So therefore, we got to be smart with our choices. We have to pick and choose and make decisions. And we have to make sure that when we're making that decision, we're not just doing it because someone happened to do it, but because you think it's right for your business. Okay. So some of you, is your first time on Webinar Wednesday. I'm just saying hello if it is the first time. Love doing these sessions. As many of you know, I've been vegan, well, definitely over 15 years. I probably should update that slide. And I just have a passion for marketing, vegan business, just all this stuff just gets me so excited because I really think this is a great way that we can change the world. We can align our careers with our passions. And ultimately, we can help, save animals and save this planet. So a lot of the great work that many of you are doing out there, I want to make sure we have these sessions available to you so that you can succeed. So let's talk about a breakthrough. Like, what's a breakthrough campaign? Like, what's a breakthrough opportunity? What's a breakthrough idea? And when I talk about a breakthrough, what I'm really kind of hinting at is this is something that allows you to dynamically change what you're currently doing to get a better result. Now, the reason I'm defining a breakthrough that way is because for some of you, a breakthrough may be a really cool, different idea or something you've never done before. But for others, it may be a little bit of house cleaning. It may be a little bit of spending some time in your marketing and shoring up your standard processes. It may be getting a rhythm in place. It may be batching, because you might feel right now that your marketing is a little bit pulling you in 20 different directions. And because it's pulling you in 20 different directions, it's not time to add a new idea. It's time to really make sure that your marketing is sound, to make sure your marketing is consistent, and to make sure your marketing is consistently happening without you feeling like, oh, I got to write an email today to go out today. I got to write a social media post or do a video this morning to go out today or tomorrow. We want you to get ahead. We want you to have a rhythm. We want you to be constantly marketing, and that takes time. You may have to spend the first 2 months of this year getting that standardization in place and then layering on additional breakthroughs from there. Okay. But the idea is, I just want you to kind of bust out of the mold. I want you to feel like whatever 2022 was for you, or 2021 or 2020, I want you to really start to think about this year. What's going to make this year different? How am I going to service, help, market, support, and drive a different result in my business? And how do I make that happen? So, let me give you some insight into how to make that happen. The number one place you have to start is you got to understand your world. I talk about this in a lot of my training, and I'm really excited to talk about it today because often what people do is they just happen to see what someone else is doing and then they try to do it too. But if they're not in your circle, if they're not doing similar products or services, sometimes that technique doesn't apply yet, doesn't apply to your world. So while we can get inspiration from all over the place, I do want to make sure you do some of that homework. So sit down and understand your world. And when I say your direct competition or adjacent markets, I'm using marketing terms because, I'm a marketing gal. But the idea is other people that are doing what you do, I want you to understand what marketing methods are they using? What brand development are they using? And I want you to think about that inside the veg community and outside the veg community. The reason I say that is what happens is sometimes we kind of get into our vegan bubbles. And a lot of that's just because it's a wonderful place to live, as vegans. But as a business owner, if your customers are non vegans, are there people that you're helping transition? If you're speaking to people who are maybe not like you, then you may not be able to hang out in the same nooks and crannies and corners that you would hang out in. You really have to figure out what kind of marketing works for your customer base. And often spending some time understanding how other people are doing it can give you some of that inspiration. It can give you a sense of what's ground zero in a sense. And also what it does is it ensures that you're not spending hours coming up with an idea that's already been tested or is out in the world. And instead of you spending, thinking you're, creating the next big thing that no one's ever seen, instead you can learn and layer on that marketing, especially if you understand what's happening. Now, how many of you, I'm just curious, who are watching this live or in our Zoom session, how many of you have a good understanding of like what's happening in your world? And when I say that, like, what are the marketing techniques are people using that offer similar services? How many of you have maybe documented? And that's what I want to say. If I had to give you an action item after this webinar, is documenting that and saying, I have three options here. You can see in the first columns here, it says types of offers. If you're selling classes or something like that, then you're going to write down, when you see what other people are doing, you're going to see what kind of services they have, because you want to have a sense of, is it similar service, adjacent service, complementary service? Are they doing courses? Are they doing products? So they're doing free trials and subscriptions and so forth. So I know many of you out there are selling products, services, courses, programs, membership sites, all different types of things. So you just want to make sure that when you are looking at that landscape, you start to document it and you start to say, okay, what are they offering? What are their marketing approaches? And what impressed you? Because what happens is sometimes we pick up the marketing technique, but we miss the nuance. And what I want you to capture is, what did they do in their marketing that surprised you? What did you say? I didn't expect that. And that's something where it might be interesting for me to incorporate. Now, remember, we're just gathering ideas. We're just brainstorming. I'm not asking you to do everything yet and, implement all of these things. But what I do want you to do is start to capture what is impressing you. I want you to look at their testimonials. If they have them, if they share them, how do they do it? There's so many different ways to share testimonials, and testimonials are one of those like amazing tools in your marketing toolkit. And then the other thing is, I want you to think about what's their relationship with their customers. How much do they spend time with them? How do they talk to them? Is it more conversation? Is it authoritative? Sorry. Is it do you know what I mean? Is it more they're one of them, they're part of the tribe and they're a member, or are they the teacher? Are they the source? All of those different styles will help you develop your style. And I don't want you to do this for like 2 weeks. I don't want this to be a huge exercise. This should be something that maybe between maybe 45 minutes to an hour, if you just start to look through your circles, look through your emails, look through who you're following in social media, you should get some ideas. And if you find that you don't have enough ideas in in the content that you're already getting, then I want you to spend some time following some, people who are doing interesting things. Get on their email list, follow them on social media. You want to start to get a sense of what that marketing experience is like so you can learn from it. How many people, I'm just curious in the chat, how many people jump on email lists to get a sense of what people are doing? And whether it's like, say you sell cooking classes, doesn't mean you have to get on an email list for a vegan cooking class. You may get on a list for, a photography class, because it's still a class component. It's a way of selling, teaching live, but it may be a totally different topic. But it's nice to see where and how people are doing it. Hey, Brady, didn't see you there. It's great to do that. Yes, 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 yes. So glad people are doing that. If anyone isn't, this is your nudge, nudge to remind you to definitely add that to your list of to-dos. Okay, now that you've done some research, now that you've looked around, got some ideas, brainstormed, I want to recommend, and here's one caveat, sorry. I don't want you to get on like 20 email lists, because then you'll go crazy and you'll be like, wait a minute, my inbox is flooded with content. And I can't get through the things I have to get done. So, pick and choose, maybe 5, just get a few in that rotation as you're doing it. So definitely look for that as a way for inspiration. All right. So once you get some of those ideas, I still want you to take a step back. This shouldn't take long, 15 minutes, but I want you to start asking yourself questions. I don't want you to just do what they're doing, because that's what happens is we tend to just do what someone else is doing and hope it works for our audience. And sometimes it's a tweak, a nuance. You have to do things differently when you're talking to different people. So I want you to think about, what element are you actually going to change? I want you to think about, what results are you expecting from it? And what kind of metrics? Are you expecting more traffic on your site? Are you expecting more engagement? Are you expecting people to sign up more? Like, you really want to hone in on it, because what can happen at times is we're like, I want to drive sales, but we pick a tactic that's a brand awareness tactic. And therefore we're frustrated and we're like, that didn't work. And it probably did work. It's just the technique that you chose wasn't a technique that drives promotions. It was really a technique that helps drive awareness. So sometimes we got to make sure we get into those details. The other thing I want you to think about is, why are you making this change? Like why, and how does it have a purpose in what you're doing? Because remember, if you're already feeling maxed out, if you're already feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't have enough time to do what I'm already doing, we have to justify why you're going to put something else down to pick this up. Because I'm not advocating that you sleep less to put more marketing in place. I'm never going to advocate that for you. I'm not saying that you have to grind it out to make it happen. What I want you to always do is make a decision and say, I'm going to do this marketing now because this is a better way for me to get better results. Okay. And I want to always make sure we hone in that anything you're doing, how does it impact you? How does it help you hit a goal that you have for this year? So it's not just something cool and interesting to do. And it's not just something where, we have that like FOMO feeling that some of us have, where we're like, I don't want to miss out on the trend, and I don't want to miss out on the thing people are doing. So then you're like pulled into doing some TikTok videos where you're dancing on screen. And some of you may be awesome dancers, so it may be your twist. But what I don't want you to do is, if that's not your thing and it's not brand specific and it doesn't really work for your customer base, I don't want you to do it just because other people are doing it. You really have to make sure that it works for you. Okay. So, same thing, quick exercise. This is just thinking about it, making sure you're getting your mindset around it. All right. Now we got the mindset. Now we got to actually go do it. So we're going to start talking technical. We're going to start talking about, how do you make it happen? How do you take like these ideas and concepts and things like that you've been gathering and implement it? And one thing I like to do before we go into specific ideas is, I want to kind of clear the stage on, the types of campaigns you should be having in your business. So when you're doing a breakthrough campaign, it's going to come through one of these standard campaign kind of methodologies. I like to break down marketing campaigns into these three types. Now, honestly, I think ultimately everyone's business should have these three types of campaigns running at a certain point in time. Now, it doesn't mean it's always running throughout the year. It doesn't mean that everything's happening um, at once. So I don't want to give you that stress of it. But the idea is that you should have, and I'm going to start at the bottom of the page, that blue box there, is you should have a standard marketing procedure. So when we talk about breakthroughs, these breakthroughs are not your standards. These breakthroughs are additional items that we're going to test, try, and work on that are additive to what you're currently doing. Now, the reason I bring this up is because what happens sometimes is people see a new idea and they stop what they're doing and then they divert all their resources to this new, cool, shiny object. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that your standard marketing stays in place. So, this is what I meant earlier, where your breakthrough may just be today that you're like, wait a minute, I got to work on this standard. I don't really have an ongoing baseline process that I put in place to market my products and services. And the idea is that that standard shouldn't take 100% of your time. Well, it really can't take 100% of your time because you have to deliver products and services. But let's say you dedicate 40% of your time to marketing. We're going to want to split that up. We're going to want to take at least 20% of your marketing time should be in standard. Then you have another 20% to do testing and blitz. So this is really, really important, because what happens sometimes is we think all marketing is all time, all the time. And the reality is, you need marketing that you can plan in advance, marketing you can batch, marketing you can develop in advance. So if you are creating videos or creating reels, some of those reels, you don't have to create them today, tomorrow to post them. You can create them in advance, because it's content, it's information, it's education, it's nurturing, it's all those things you're doing along the way. Okay. So that's your standard. That's what you have in place, and that's what you are marketing. Your marketing is always happening. Then what you add on top of that is testing. I call them testing campaigns because what you're trying to do is optimize. They're not major campaigns, they're not major launches, they're not something you've never done before. What they often are is taking what is working in your marketing and trying to make it better. And this is where I find the best breakthroughs happen. The reason being is, you don't have to use as much effort to get a bigger result. Now, like I said, for some of you, if you're struggling with your standard, we may not be ready for testing yet, because we got to get that standard in place. But when you're ready, starting to tweak and make changes is going to be key. And I'll show you some examples of how I put campaigns together and how I identify things that are testing. Now, normally some things, these are like weeks or 2 days, 7 days, but normally they don't take longer than 30 days to run a full test. And then the last one are blitz. Blitz is where you come up with this huge campaign idea, this new thing that takes a little bit of infrastructure to build, takes a little bit of time to put in place. It might be more like a campaign, so it has a start and stop. Those are blitz. Those are when you launch a new product, launch a new course, launch a new class. These are when you revitalize a course. This is when you're maybe relaunching something that you had before. And this is when you do all the fun live streams, the this, the that. Those things tend to start to fall into your blitz marketing. So, is that clear to everyone, that your marketing is kind of these three different layers that are ultimately working together, so that you always have a standard, almost like a controlled group, of marketing that's always happening. And then you have these additional layers on top. Let me know in the comments if that's a yes, if you're like, kinda, because I'll explain it even more. I'm going to show you in real campaign what it looks like. But I'm just curious, are you guys kind of seeing what I'm laying out as far as these campaigns? Now, one thing before we jump into what the campaigns look like, I want to just break down, I guess, the basics a little bit more of your baseline marketing. And what I mean by that is when I say baseline marketing, there's still components underneath it. Like I think sometimes when I say marketing, people think promotion, 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 promotion. And the reality is that your marketing isn't promotion, promotion, promotion. Your marketing is broken down into like these four different buckets. And sometimes there's a fifth one where we do some loyalty marketing. But some of your marketing is just pure awareness. It's just so people can discover you. And that's when you do like podcast interviews. That's when you're featured on a summit, doing speaking engagement, things like that that help introduce you to your potential customers, often in someone else's playground. Then you're going to have things that you're going to do that are for connection, for nurturing. And that's when you're going to do things like, posting articles, posting videos, sending out emails, and you're going to be teaching people maybe lessons learned, things that you have, um, discovered over time. You're going to kind of get a little bit more intimate in your marketing, or you may just do behind the scenes footage, what it takes to prepare for a course, a class, a trip, a product, how you're developing a product, shipping day, all those fun things give people a sense and a way to connect with you. But they're not promotional in nature, meaning you're not in one hand sharing and teaching and then trying to say, but buy now. What we want to do is make sure your marketing has content that's not always pushy and is designed to build a relationship. And that's those first two layers often. Then you have that sales and promotional layer. And that's when we're doing early bird discounts and we find interest groups or tag people or identify who's interested or the people that have visited page A on your website versus page B. If someone's interested in page A, that means they've clicked on class, your ABC cooking class. If they went to page B, they were interested in a different cooking class or a different product. And by tagging people and seeing where people are going, you can get a sense of who they are and then you market to them. And then the final piece, which I always talk about, but we won't spend too much time on it today because got tons of more slides to get through, is, a give back strategy, where we're doing things and we're just giving to the community, not promotional, no links, not marketing from a standpoint of like, I'm trying to drive sales. I just think it's important that we do give to our community because our communities support us and, we're doing something bigger in many cases. So when I'm going to talk about breakthroughs today, I could give you breakthroughs in all four categories, but I don't have time. So I'm going to focus on the sales and promotional side because that's where I think you'll see some of the biggest input or kind of maybe change. So therefore, I'm going to focus there, but I don't want you to lose sight of the slide as we move forward because I don't want you to think it's only in this area that we can layer on testing, we can layer on blitzing, and we can do things that are breakthroughs. All right. So I wanted to show you a practical slide. I wanted to show you something you could put together yourself. And the idea is if you are promoting something, and I'm showing you an example of how we do our promotions, how we build a campaign for our webinars. And I'm showing you this because I want you to kind of see what it's like when we're doing something that you're already experiencing, which is like you showing up and coming to this webinar. I'm also going to show you some new things that we are layering in. And as you can see, there's purple on the screen. So I'm just going to go back 2 slides. So if it's purple, it's testing. If it's blue, it's a standard practice we're doing. And if it's orange, it's blitz. So everything's going to correspond in here. And that way I can show you where we are considering testing options and tweaking things or testing something that we're adding in that's not a heavy lift versus the big blitz things that we're looking at doing. And now all of these things are not launched on day one, January 1st, first week of January. These are things that we're tweaking and working on throughout the year. So when you build out your marketing plan, even your breakthroughs, give yourself time to implement these. Give yourself time to implement them so they're strong and so you can get results. And potentially anything that's purple can eventually become blue. Anything that's orange can eventually become blue as well. Okay. Now, one thing I want to show you is when I do a campaign, I do this in so many different ways. Sometimes I use mind maps. Sometimes I'm using like Venn diagrams, the circles. I use in all different ways because I love things to be visual. But what I wanted to do for this webinar is give you a very simplistic way to look at your marketing so that it doesn't get too complicated before we layer on things like what's testing, what's blitz, what's that. So what I would recommend is pick your product or service and put it at the top of a slide like this. I have a webinar here. I'm going to show you one for a course that's an ongoing promotional plan, and I'm going to show you one for a 30-day course. Now, if you sell a product, if you sell something like a physical product, vegan shoes, vegan purses, vegan skincare, you're just going to substitute the course one for that product. And if you're going to sell it like a launch, you're going to look at my 30-day example. If you're going to sell it ongoing, you're going to look at this example. So I'm just going to walk you through different options. But what I want to do is ground you. What I often do when I'm building out a campaign is I first start looking at the channels that I'm using, right? Especially since these are things that for many of you, you should already have a marketing plan in place. But what I find for a lot of us is we have the ideas like in our head and we kind of do most of the stuff, but we don't always have it written down so we can look at it. So step number one is write down what are the components of your campaign. And what I did here is I just wrote down what do we normally do in a webinar. We normally do a good amount of social media posts. We do some emails that go out. I use website lead generation as one of my categories. And then I always have this category, which is my additional marketing kind of channel I love, where I try to get personal, where I connect with people in some ways in smaller groups or one-on-one, just so that all of our marketing isn't broadcast. I really like having a little bit of a personal touch, even though I can't do it with everyone. They can't get that personal touch. But if I'm doing it throughout the year, I can normally get a good amount of coverage. Okay. So for you, these 4 columns may look different. They may have different names. But the first thing I want you to do is put the columns in here. And if you have more than 4, you can list them, but start with the top 4 or top 3. Because remember, we're not trying to have everything that could happen. We're really trying to say, what are you doing today? And then what I did is I just typed in blue, what are the things we're currently doing? I do a webinar, I have an announcement post. We do a webinar, we normally have reminder posts that go out. And then what I started to do is say, okay, if this is our standard, what's something else we could do and test that isn't a heavy lift, but as a way I can optimize the posts that I'm already doing on social media. And therefore, what we came up with, and we tested this last year, and we're going to do more of it this year, is that we started creating reels, and reels that were, promotional in nature. So they're promoting the webinar, but they're giving people a little bit more insight into what we're covering in the webinar, what the topics are about, why they should join the webinar. Is this webinar right for them? Because we do a lot of different webinars, and some webinars are going to resonate with different people. So it's nice when I can give them that insight. So they're not just looking at a registration page with a paragraph and like 3 bullet points to make a decision. We're building other tools in there. And because, a 60-second video, 30-second video is not a heavy lift, it's something that I would put in that testing realm where I'm taking what I'm already doing in social media, adding a new component to it and tweaking it. We already do reels, so I'm tweaking it. Same thing in email. We send out announcements, we send out confirmations, we send out reminders. One new thing that we started to put in place is what we call our webinar interest nudge email. And this is an email that we now send out to people who have come to webinars before, who visited our website and shown interest in that webinar before. So Bridie, hopefully you don't mind, I'm going to use you as an example. If someone has shown an interest in one of your specific trips, then the idea is they may get a nudge email that's slightly different than an announcement email. Now, for your trips, 2 days before is obviously the timeline's too tight. So you'd have to change that. Your timeline's going to be a little bit different. And thanks, Bridie, for that message. The idea is you may do an interest email that they get X amount of days before the trip deadline. that gets them maybe off the fence. Because what I find is when we only do email marketing in one way, meaning to everybody who's just interested in our program and all the emails that we send out are very general, they can get some people to move, but it's very different when you can send an email to someone and you can say, hey, I know you're interested in this trip. I wanted to make sure you are aware of these details. This is what makes this trip different with us versus other people. Same thing for me. I'm going to say this, it makes our webinar different. Or in this case, we also use this for courses, and I'm going to explain how our courses are different so that I know someone who's interested in a social media course or a coach or a cooking class course or cooking instructor course, I'm going to cater that email a little bit differently. The other thing we've been playing around with in webinars are one-click registration. If it's something that's a free webinar or free event, instead of people clicking, going to the site, typing in their name and email address, now we set up one-click registration. Is it hard to do? No. Our email marketing system just does it. It's just that it's a new thing for us to add to make it easy. And for us, we've been finding these are really interesting breakthroughs. Yep. I love that. Getting people ready. I'm so glad you typed that in there. Brady just posted a note saying that, she has a marketing process where people can sign up to be notified about a trip that they're going on. And the idea is that by emailing people right before it, telling them, hey, let's get ready, is a great way to get them moving. So same thing for all of you out there. Think about that kind of process. And while it may I think sometimes when people hear me say breakthroughs, they're thinking it's going to be something like, oh my goodness. But honestly, these can be amazing breakthroughs because it's not that it's going to cost you 2 months to get it in place. This is something, and many of these things you can do in the next week or two and start to feel the benefits in your business. Okay. The other thing we've done, which has been in our testing strategy, is that when people are new subscribers, they join our email list. We used to go through a traditional welcome series where you let people know, hey, glad you're here. Here are some of the things we have going on. And what we've done now is we've changed it. We keep making it more and more dynamic, and we keep testing. And therefore, when someone joins our email list, instead of them just getting a welcome, sometimes we ask them what kind of content or challenges they're currently having. And they'll have like 6 or 7 options to choose from. And when someone clicks on that, what it helps me know is what might be the right service or offering for them. It helps me understand what type of even content I can send to them. And more importantly, for the webinars, I know which webinars they may be more interested in. So therefore, I can dynamically send emails and send information to people about the content that they're most interested in. And all of that can be automated. The other thing we do is we let people know that we do have webinars because someone may be new to our list. They may not know everything we have. They may have come in from one door, let's say, for example, and they may not know that we have these other services. So what we've started to do is incorporate an email in that process. So for any of you that have a welcome email series, someone joins your email list, think about where in that process do you introduce them to your products or services? Where do you introduce them to your webinars, your live streams, your Zoom sessions, whatever you are working on, and use that as a way to test an opportunity to get people into the process, because you'll be surprised. We have people who sign up through our welcome series because we keep tweaking it, testing it, and doing new things. Now, the big stuff, the orange stuff. What we've started to do is think of bigger projects like affiliate marketing. And one thing that we're doing with affiliate marketing, which is totally different, but is a big lift, is that our affiliates now can promote a webinar. And if someone signs up like a month later, 2 months later, after watching our webinar and buys one of our courses, as an example, we've set up all the tracking and everything in the back end so that person gets credit for that order. What used to happen is they would only get credit if they sent someone directly to a course or directly to a sales page. And we had to build in a new system, set things up, tweak things, change things so that no matter what link an affiliate partner sends someone to on our website, their affiliate code is captured and it's carried through if a person does purchase. Now, for some of you, you may be like, I'm not doing affiliate marketing, Stephanie. But for us, it's a breakthrough, and that's a bigger breakthrough for us, because now we don't have I guess we can, in my opinion, we can do a better job of taking care of our affiliates to make sure they're getting compensated. And our affiliate marketing program can grow because people can promote content on our website or a webinar on our website and know that they will get compensated for it. So, for any of you out there that are doing affiliate marketing, that's maybe one of your breakthroughs. The other things we've been doing are limited time offers. We've been offering people different promotions on webinars. And this is a big one that we tipped our toe in last year, but it's really, really something big for 2023. And what we're going to do is do surprise offers. These are going to be offers that are only available to people who show up for our webinars live. It's not anything that's a strong arm or a marketing technique from a standpoint we're trying to twist someone's arm into getting them to sign up. It's just that we want to reward people who show up live to our webinars and give them an opportunity, if they are interested in working with us, to get a limited time offer. So that's some things that we're working through. And this is how I build out that campaign. Now, what do you guys think? I'm going to walk through the course example too, because I wanted to show you webinar because you're familiar with it, but I'll walk through a promotional paid product as well. Is anyone using this technique? Like, have you documented, okay, these are all my channels. This is my standard. And then putting in, like, these are the things I would test. These are the things that I would do a blitz or a bigger campaign around. Have you used this technique? Or if you haven't, let me know if you think this will help you. This will actually help you get where you want to go. Now, I just looked at time. I'm talking so much, so I'm going to try to go through a couple of these slides a little bit faster because they're very similar. I want you to think about paid promotional products as well. I want you to say, okay, what am I doing for social media? What am I doing for email? And if it's ongoing, how often do I do it? Because I think sometimes we think about campaigns or we think about, I have my next class, I'm launching this course. But if you have a course that you're trying to sell throughout the year and you want to be able to get X amount of people to sign up every month, then we have to have an ongoing campaign that you're walking through. So we need to know the standard, like I have here in blue. Then we need to know, what would you test? What would you do differently? What would you add? And what I tried to outline here for you is, okay, yeah, we're going to do social media posts that drive awareness of the course. We're going to do testimonials. We'll do, impact or benefit of the course. Um, and then we're also going to do, and this is one that we've been, oops, I actually clicked by accident. We've been doing some of this before, but we're going to do it in like a totally different way in 2023, is we're going to do things around video and giving people more insight into our courses, give people more insight into what it's like to experience our courses. And I think this is a really great one for any of you out there that sell trips, that sell service-based, and actually this really works as well for products as well, because what happens is people have a sense of how they can get the most out of what they're investing in. But if you can show them, it's totally different. Because when you're selling something like a course, a membership program, even a class at times, people don't know what it's like behind the door. They don't know what it's like when they buy. And the more you can give them insight into that and do these reels and videos and do multiple part series, now people can get a sense of, I got it. I see, I get what I'm going to buy, and they're going to be more willing to buy because you've almost given them a little bit of a sneak preview. Okay. The other thing I want you to think about are, what are things that you can put in place that are fairly easy? I'm going to talk about pop-up offers in a few minutes, in a couple of slides, but think about, what can you do that makes people more comfortable? What can you do to make their experiences better? And like I said, I have a lot of examples on here. Number one, I have a little bit bigger team this year, so more people can help me implement these things. Also, I've been doing this for a while, so there's things that I have on here on my big wish list for 2023. But for many of you, you're probably going to have like 2 purple items on here and maybe 1 orange item. So I don't want you to think you have to have a million ideas and a million things to do. I want you to get very focused, very specific. But I definitely think putting together a plan like this and understanding what's your baseline, what are you testing, and where you ultimately going with a bigger campaign can really be key. Yep. Hey, Jane, no worries. If you're a total newbie, one thing I would say is just start with the columns. Just start with, what am I promoting? And then what channel am I going to use to do it? And what am I trying to do? Okay. So just a lot of this exercise is getting the ideas out of your head and on paper so you have a plan. And this is key for newbies, but honestly, this is key even for someone like me, because I have a lot of ideas bouncing around. I'm talking with so many different people in a day, and working on so many different campaigns with so many different clients. That what happens for me sometimes is I almost have too many ideas bouncing around. And I have to ground myself and come in here and say, okay, what am I doing for us? Where am I going to focus? Yes, I could do this, and ooh, this would be awesome. But the reality is, I have to decide what makes sense. So I mention that to everyone because no matter where you are in your stage, this can be really cute. Cool. Yes, yes, yes. Checkout is huge. How do you do, yes, how do you do auto renewals? People can do subscriptions. People can update or downgrade their plans. All of those changes, even though they don't sound like marketing, because they sound like, wasn't it just operations? The thing about that is the more seamless and easy it is for someone to buy, it impacts your marketing. Plus, once you've upgraded and made it easier for people to buy, you can let people know. You can say, hey, we have an easy, simple system. All you do is do step one, step two, step three. And then once you sign up, we do this and this and this. People like to know how they're going to be treated before they sign up. And therefore, that's where the marketing side comes into it. So I'm so glad, Wanda. Thank you so much for posting that. Okay. So same thing goes. If you're doing a 30-day plan, this is just going to be anchored in time. Over those 30 days, how many social media posts? How many emails are you going to do? What type of campaigns? And sometimes we do different things. Like when I do a course, sometimes I'm launching a brand new course. I'll give people access to a free lesson. Sometimes instead of giving them access to a free lesson, like I have in this kind of website lead generation column, I'll do a live class and teach the lesson live and let everyone for free benefit from it. And if people love it, most likely people are going to sign up for the course. Once again, it's a breakthrough for us because what we found is I already have the lesson done. It's already in the course, the content and all that information. All I have to do is post it live, set up a registration page, and get people to show up. And most of the time when people show up, they love it and they're more interested in it. So it's not that I have to create a brand new presentation, a brand new this. What I'm doing is I'm taking what works well, meaning I know people like the course. Therefore, if I did a live learning experience for people, is that a way I can get more people into my course? And that's how I want you to keep thinking about your marketing, that tweak, that change, that those pieces that we can add. Okay. Now, for some people, it's like, how do I know what's important? How do I know where to focus? And I wanted to bring this in. PwC did a survey where they were asking people what was important to them. Now, I bring this in because I don't want you to necessarily do a survey. What I want you to do is just do some of the research. And when I say some of the research, I mean like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, because there's always surveys that people do in every industry to ask what is important about the customer experience. So for your industry, jump out, do some Googling, and just see what pops to the top. And what I loved about this is that many of the things that pop to the top are things like easy payment. That's what we just talked about in Wanda's great example. Knowledgeable services. People want to know if you know what you are teaching. And that's where things like webinars, giving people free access to lessons and things like that can help with. Convenience, efficiency, friendly service. And then you can work your way down the list. Now, it looks like down the list, oops, but as you can see, it's still at like 70%. So it's still a high number, but this gives you a sense of what's important for people. Yes, you could try to do a whole survey in your list. That's a lot of work. You just want to directionally know. So therefore, you know where to put your breakthroughs, where to test your blitz, and where to actually try different testing techniques. All right. So I got 3 more slides. And then we will jump into our Zoom sessions and I will answer more questions. So if you have questions, make sure you're writing them down because I want to make sure I answer them. As usual, I went a little bit longer than I expected. Now, I love giving you the technique. I love giving you the structure. I love giving you the methodology. But some of you are like, what can I do right now? Like, what's just a straight up marketing thing I can do? And I'm going to give you 3 things you can do that are fairly easy to do, that can change your marketing, and that can help you get that additional exposure and help you with promotions. One of my favorite things to do is to do short form video. That is one of the biggest trends for 2023. What has happened is TikTok has really changed the way people consume content and information. And this doesn't mean that people don't love longer formats. It's just that short form video really does well from a marketing standpoint. People can digest it quickly, people can watch it in between other activities. They don't have to wait until they have time to watch it. And it's much easier for you to create. It can be much more casual, it doesn't have to be as perfect. And often these are 30-second, 60-second, 90-second videos. So, what I want you to do is make them very natural, make them feel appealing. This is my little kitty here on the page, and see how it almost looks like she's looking exactly right at you. I want you to engage people with short term video. And I want you to think about with your products and services, how can you do it? And one of my favorite ways to do it, where we've seen a lot of success with our clients, is creating video series. So instead of trying to create like a full 10, 20, 30-minute video, create 5 or 6 short videos. Make them part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. The reason being is people can still consume it in small amounts. You don't have to create the perfect video and memorize the script. And what happens is you're teaching people over time. You're educating people over time. Instead of people trying to understand what you do, how do you do it, how they can help you, how you can help them, blah, 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 blah. You can put this content out over time and nurture people. You can also do this in kind of a vlog style, meaning every week, every couple of days, you can give people an update on your products, on your service, how it's working, how you built your course, the new updates to your product, new product that's gotten shipped in to the warehouse. All of those things can be done in short-term video. And what happens is it keeps people engaged in your products and services. And then you can also repurpose. So what you can do is, if say you have an amazing blog post or an article that's done really well, you can create a reel. Say you were recently recognized or got an award. Hint, hint, I'm talking about Bridie. Bridie got an amazing award. And actually it's had some just amazing recognition. So I'm so, so excited for Bridie and her work. But for everyone out there, think about any recognition you had, any list that you were in. Create a reel. Create a reel and let people know. Let people know you're excited about it. Let people know that you've been recognized. And what's amazing about that kind of content is it's easy for people to see, it's easy for people to share, and it can really be a great marketing technique. The other thing I love to do is do collaborative reels and post on Instagram. Great way to get bigger exposure. And it's a great way for you to collaborate with a lot of people without a lot of work. And what I love to do is, say, for example, I may have like 6 or 7 or maybe even 10 people I'd like to work with over a year. What I'll do is I'll create a content calendar and think about who I want to collaborate with when. And that way, I'm not just building one partnership with one person, I'll be working with different people. Now, how does this work? Why would someone be collaborating with you? Most people are looking for content for their social media channels. So instead of them creating those videos, what if you created those videos for them? What if you created that content? What if you shared your information? And because it's a collaborative post, it shows up on your Instagram account and their Instagram account. Both of you get the benefit of it. How many of you out there are using collaborative reels and collaborative posts in Instagram? Or is this new to anyone? I'm just curious. Drop that in the chat, because this is such a great way for you to get information out there. Such a great way for you to share content. Now, you can't I don't want you like spamming people. I don't want you to just like randomly create a video and then just invite, the biggest name out there to be a collaborator with you. What I want you to do is partner with someone, get them to agree, and then the two of you are posting on each other's channels and supporting each other. And definitely you want somebody who is similar size as you, but make sure they have some engagement. I'm just showing you here in Instagram, and I just did it as a quick photo. This is just a photo of my husband and I from like a week or so ago where we went to an event. But if you put the image in or the reel in, you can go in and do tags. And in tags, there's an extra option at the bottom of the page that says invite collaborator. When you click on that, you'll actually find the collaborator in there, which is their Instagram handle. And then they will get a notice that you want to collaborate with them and you can accept it. This has been a great technique that Veganuary is using right now. So if you want to see who's using it and how they're doing it, look at Veganuary, because they're doing a lot of posting here in the month of January. And you're going to see how they're doing collaborative posts with a ton of people all month long, sharing content between the two, and both of them benefiting both of those brands. Okay. And then the last one I just want to show as an idea is the pop up offer or the pop up option. I love, 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 love doing these. These don't have to be big, they could be small in the bottom corner. And this is a very basic one I'm showing you here, where you give someone 15% off their first order, 15% off their first purchase, 15% off their first class. But what happens is there's trackable information. I use a platform for all of my clients, which is called MailerLite. MailerLite will set these up for you. They will integrate with your website, so it's not heavy tech lift. Some of the other email marketing systems have it in it as well. So check with your email marketing system so you don't have to, hire someone technical from your website to make this work. And you can see, okay, how many subscribers did I collect? How many visitors did I have? What's my conversion numbers? And over time, you can tweak this. This is the testing we talked about to figure out, can I get more subscribers and make that conversion better? And this doesn't just have to be offers. Say you have a new trip, like Bridie gave the example, we're going to be potentially going to Japan. You could do that as a pop-up and say, hey, sign up here if you want to hear when we announce the new dates. If you're launching a new course, you can say, hey, we have a new course coming out next month. Sign up here so you're the first to get notified. If you're doing some new educational material or new content that you're releasing, you can set this up and people can be of the first or be able to access that information. And I find these are ways that you can kind of break through your marketing, connect with people, and do something in a quick, fast, and effective way in your marketing without, like I was saying, it takes a whole team, a whole village to make it happen. All right. So I'm going to stop there because I only have 4 minutes left. Sorry. But I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I can. So if you have questions, start dropping them in the chat. If you can hang tight, I'm going to hang with everyone in our Zoom session and answer your questions. Anyone who joined us in our live broadcast, thank you so much for joining us live. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And thank you so much for your comments. It's always nice when I can see the comments on the screen and everything. So I definitely, if you have any follow-up or anything else you need from us, make sure you drop it in the comments or just shoot us an email and we will definitely get back to you. We always record these. These are on our website. So if you go to our website, there's an option for some of our free content. And when you go into our free content, it'll take you to our webinars in the dropdown. And on the webinar page, we will list this. We normally list these videos or list the replays. I think it takes about 2 days for us to get them out there. So thank you, everybody who's on our live broadcast. Anybody on our Zoom session, hang tight. I know I only have about 3 minutes, and I know some of you have a hard stop. So no worries if you do have to leave, but I'm going to come over there and answer any additional questions that you have.